So the 352 Volksgrenadiers. Just highlighted them there so you can see them. Rolled a 10 for snafu. So again, good die rolling to get the full activation. Again, fairly limited. You can see the we've sort of given them a limited objective, just Bettendorf there, easily within the HQ's 6 range. Objective given the double tap. So again, we went for a destruction barrage, and you can see there the unit started off as a full strength 6 battalion, and it's taken 2 hits from the artillery barrage. Unfortunately, with the lack of suppression, the attack wasn't so great, and we ended up just taking a single casualty. We rolled an unfortunate 2 for fatigue, so fatigue was increased. We rolled a 1 for activation, second activation, so again, nothing to be gained from that. Now I think you'll notice that I haven't marked these with I haven't marked them with the support dropped, and as you can see, 352 is actually a unit which has red support there, so they should have been marked. I did mark them subsequently, but just for the purposes of this vlog, they weren't. To focus now, we first American unit to activate is the Combat Command Reserve of 9th Armoured. Needed to roll more than a 5 to actually get an activation, but they did. They rolled a 6. They had pretty bad modifiers against them. They ended up with a -3 on the snafu, but still managed a partial with a half decent roll. You can see there the objective being put into Houffalize, so that's where they're headed for. So it looks like they just remembered that they left something back in Houffalize that they really needed, so they're scurrying back in that direction. So we drop back down into the centre now, and we're looking at 5th Fallschirmjäger. Again, rolled really well for snafu. We rolled an 11, plus I think we had a +2. Now this is probably one of those points where if we just wanted to mention the version 2 rules, sorry, not there, but actually just very close to there, standoff support. So these are the 88s, which under the old rules, as we know, people were getting using them for standoff engagements and inflicting attack by fires. Now obviously in the 2.0 rules there's two things. One, the attack by fires have actually all been given a column shift, so they aren't as effective as the barrage rule. They're one higher than whatever the barrage rule was. So yeah, that's kind of knocked them down a little bit, which you'll probably just see in slightly reduced casualty levels from attack by fires, I guess, once the armour starts to move. At the minute we've got no armour moving apart from the Americans there. But the other big thing, which was without a doubt, because well, you can kind of see I've got 5th Fallschirmjäger have standoff support, but also 276 have standoff support, and I've left these as standoff support. Now what that means is effectively I've just missed completely using these units, because well, the standoff support effectively doesn't give you any bonus at all in attack, because as we know, there's only red support gives a positive benefit to an attacking unit. If we were on the defensive, then having them in support like this would make sense. If we're moving forward, actually what we want to do is we want to have the units moving as counters, so we want them deployed, and then we'd be able to get the benefits of being able to do attack by fires, albeit not from every single unit in the hex, but as I said, that rule's gone. It's only the physical combat unit. There's little modifiers which again we'll no doubt see as the game progresses, but I just wanted to highlight, because this is a definite error on my part, having these units set up in this mode at this point. I mean, you can argue that actually, you know, they can't cross the river anyway. They aren't leg, they are truck based, I think, both cases. So they aren't really going anywhere at the moment, but so let's just click through. Now you can see I'm finally thinking, oh, I should have put the support dropped on there. March objective for the 5th Fallschirmjäger. You can see we're pushing on into this gap again. Again, trying to maintain. Right now I've suddenly realized again, you can see that there's a nicer little support dropped. So I decided to just revisit all of these. So bear with me while we just readdress that. And I actually forgot to bring the objectives in early. So I had started moving without dropping the objectives, so don't get caught with that one either. So there you can see the 5th Fallschirmjäger effectively is all moved up into position, and then we're going to put in an attack down here at 4N, which again we'll head it up with a destruction barrage. I think we've got 3. Have we got more? Yeah, we've got 3 artillery points there, so we use them in a destruction barrage. Yep, double objective. Six strength points. Actually, we got we put 3 hits on there with the destruction barrage, so that was quite an effective. Reduced them by 50%. Although again, it does mean that our net attack that goes in next actually has a net -2, which wasn't so clever. And we actually rolled a 5. So as you can see there, they dropped 2 steps there, taking the bloody nose as they tried to coup de main. Fatigue, we rolled a 4, so there was no increase in fatigue. We rolled for a second activation and we got a 3, which finished them. So you can see we've marked them done. So we've moved down down to the 212 Volksgrenadier. again you can see Lauterborn is being highlighted as the divisional objective. We had a +2 and we managed to get a 9, so once again we got a full activation. We double tapped Ektanak. Not sure this again was a great idea, but at least it had the value of Lauterborn was also within its range. And again, this is basically just units moving, crossing the river, trying to make up the ground that they can. Again, marking them as support dropped. Although again, I think I might be right now. Have we actually got support? Yeah, I don't think we have got support again. Or was that a... Oh, they have, yeah, red support. Now that time, all we literally did was move up, and we kind of took a chance that we managed to get a second activation, even given that we were fatigue 0 and didn't have the bonus. But they are well rated in terms of being a 4, and we actually rolled a 5, so we did manage a second activation. Me putting the 2 combat objectives down was actually a mistake in a way. But I did rolled a 5, and it would have taken 1s obviously because all we had were the objectives. So the snafu on the second objective was a +2. We rolled a 5, so again we managed a full activation. We put the objectives this time onto Lauterborn, and again we went with the idea of a 3-point destruction barrage as part of an attack. Sadly, this time again we only got a single hit on the unit in Lauterborn, and the attack again meant that when the attack went in, it was going in at a -2, so we rolled a 5, which was very poor, but we did manage to roll a 4 for fatigue, so again there was no hit in many respects, so that was a positive. We stay in the south for the next activation, and it's the CCA of 9th Armoured. They rolled a 9, but again they had minuses on their snafu, which took them down. Well, actually no, it kept them full, but they were marked as prepared defence. So they could only really have a partial, so half movement again. And they again failed second activation with a roll of a 4, so reasonably quick. 8 hits left. 4th Infantry Division for the Americans, 26th Infantry Division, or 26 Volksgrenadiers I should say, and the 276 for us, and it was the 26th. So we've come back up into the centre here. We had a +1, we rolled an 8, so we had a full activation again. March objective placed there on Holtham. Now you can see there the 26th Volksgrenadier has a 10 as its command radius, so it's quite an effective division really. Yeah, forgot to put the objective markers down again, so that was the little rewind there was me just trying to get my act together. And you can see this time we've gone with split objectives. Again, I think if I look at this, yep, so you can see there that we've got 5 artillery points, so I was going to try and maximize those artillery points basically. The infantry swarms across, obviously it should all be support dropped. and then we did some destruction barrages. I think it was 2 on Hosingen and 3 on Holzum, and we completely missed Hosingen. The attack was then a -2, which means we took the usual big hit again in terms of combat, which is very unfortunate when you're thinking that you're doing it. You think you're doing an assault to try and get some casualties. Holzum, by contrast, we managed 2 hits. And again, unfortunately, the combat resulted in exactly the same result. We took another bloody nose. And then when we rolled for a second activation, we failed. So that was the end for 26th Volksgrenadier. So we move south once more. In fact, the last 2 activations are down here. So we've got the 276 Volksgrenadiers. Let me just tidying up a little bit there. So the march objective you can see there. Again, we got a full activation, double objectives. The brave boys charge forward. Now again, this is a unit where I've said we've had standoff support, which you know, in the old game you would have been able to get hits in with this, but in this version not so. Beginning to hit a familiar pattern here, because once again, even with the support from the artillery, because we don't have as much artillery with the 276, we were pretty poor there because we rolled a 4 and I think we took 2 hits again on one of the battalions. In the second attack that we put in, we took a casualty each. We rolled for fatigue and managed to gain fatigue, which wasn't great, and then we rolled for a second activation, got a 3, so there's no second activation, so we cleared that off. And I think that brings us down to 4th Infantry Division. Again, you can see them there bringing in the objective. I think that was good artillery shooting there. They did some serious damage to us. You can't see it. Oh, yes, you can see it. There you go. The Pioneer's just gone down to 1. He took 2 hits there from an artillery barrage. They managed to roll a 5 for their fatigue increase, so there was no fatigue increase, and then they rolled 4 for a second activation. They're in prepared defense just as well, because the way they were doing those artillery before. Was a bit scary, and as you can see, they've just done exactly the same again and pinged the Pioneers. And the only good news was they actually then rolled a 2, so the fatigue increased. But that was the end of their activation.